I'm someone who have eaten the most expensive caviar dalam restoran tau. I also am someone who remember at one time I duduk dalam tent kat Changi. I ada $2 je dalam kocik. I retired from TV in 2016. I was working as a debt collector. I was working as a legal money lender. Bila kita tengah buat macam itu, a small girl came out and say, Mami, pukul berapa nak makan? Daripada pagi kita tak makan.
Oh man.
So instead of being angry, instead of quality money, kita kasih dia duit.
Assalamualaikum semuanya, selamat datang ke Diary Ayah. Sekali lagi, Diary Ayah ini sebenarnya berasal daripada twitter.com/sujimi Muhammad. Saya berikan nasihat-nasihat kepada anak-anak Twitter kat sana. Tapi malam ini, hari ini saya ada satu tetamu yang sangat istimewa. Dah lama sangat saya tak jumpa dengan dia. Para pendengar dan penonton, Nick Mikhail in the house. Apa khabar?
Oh ya bro.
Thank you for... kita tak boleh salam actually bro.
Kenapa?
COVID dah bro. Sanitizer. Bagus. Ramai tak tahu Nick Mikhail ni, dia bukan saja personality. Kita kenal dia daripada dulu personality. Dah menang Pesta Perdana. Dan you dah pernah acting in a movie even
Yep.
Tapi ramai tak tahu dia adalah usahawan bersiri.
Okay.
A serial entrepreneur. Okay, you ada, saya tahu you ada t-shirt business.
Yep.
Apa bisnes lain yang you ada ni yang ramai mungkin tak tahu?
Kalau orang semua yang follow me kan, they would know that I started a brand called Hombre 21 3 tahun lepas, and it's still going on sampai sekarang. Kita akan branch to, actually kita dah branch pun. Kalau kat KL kita ada kedai kat Berjaya Times Square under Concept House. Kalau kat JB ada kat Topen, kita ada
dah kat Malaysia
dah ada.
Okay,
Cuma sekarang kita tengah redesign pasal the face of Hombre 21. Bila dia kat Malaysia will not be me. Kita just endorse Dato' Aaron Aziz.
Wah.
So dia akan be the face of
good.
Hombre bila kita fully launch kat sana. And also kita akan penetrate Melbourne lah. But all this is put on hold pasal of our good friend COVID-19.
Selain daripada tu, tadi you bilang you pun ada bisnes makanan.
Oh yeah, me and my
juice.
wife kita started this nasi padang shop at Amoy Street. It's at level 2, Nora's Kitchen. So kita serve nasi padang, tapi itu for more to breakfast dengan lunch lah. Lepas tu petang Saturday Sunday we don't work. Tapi itu pun tengah slow bit because of the COVID, because everybody in Shenton Way area is advised to work from home. So itu pun kita taking a bit of hit. My business kat Malaysia pula, it's more on, I have some money pump in a vape shop in Malaysia.
Vape shop,
yeah, but I cannot bring it to Singapore
Singapore
lah.
tak boleh lagi.
Pasal tu, but I still get a bit of income.
Itu macam mana kat sana?
Over there is still okay. Dekat sana is, I would say that the industry I've seen, boys who don't go to school, yang SPM pun tak lepas, sekarang bawa Lamborghini, sekarang bawa Ferrari.
Serious?
Just by doing vape. You must get the right product at the right time. There's like this guy, he started this vape called NSIC. So dulu dia SPM pun tak pas, tapi dia sekarang ada rumah 3 tingkat, ada lift, ada bawa Lamborghini. So it's a $20 billion industry in Malaysia.
Kenapa dia menjadi macam in demand sangat ni?
Because I think it's orang suka lah. People just like to vape. It's like everybody vapes in Malaysia.
Trend lah. It's like a trend.
But ada flavouring tu orang suka. Kalau cigarette kan one taste kan. So kalau vape tu banyak taste. So everybody, so different people are doing it lah. It becomes a trend. Cuma sekarang they're trying to control for underage lah sekarang.
So sekarang COVID period ni, tadi you katakan all your business ni affected. Macam mana tu dia affected tu? How heavy it is?
For the food is very bad lah. Pasal kalau dulu my sales one day 800 to 900, sekarang 400, 500.
Oh, half
So basically half, so that's 50%. Macam Hombre pula, kita dah prepare to be in the bazaar this year. So we cannot because pasal there's no bazaar, there's no Celeb Fest. So stock tu kita have to sell online. Okay, we must admit, kalau bulan puasa ni, kau buka online ke kau buka kedai ke, nothing beats a bazaar. Because I've been in the bazaar for the last 2 years. Bazaar punya pergi is different. People walk by. So online will be still a bit slow. But we hope lah, since there's no bazaar, the online will this year be better lah.
Wow. Okay. Jadi apa yang you buat, sekarang you nak overcome kesukaran bisnes ni?
I think apa pun sekarang yang I nak buat ke atau orang lain nak bikin, the problem is kita tak boleh foresee what's going to happen. We never know tomorrow people say, okay, we have the vaccine. Bazar buka balik, everything buka balik. So it's hard to predict pasal for the first time bukan kita control something or something yang control kita. Because of this COVID-19, a lot of things have been controlled, a lot of things has been minimized. So I tak berani cakap, I just pray for the best and just hope that this thing die off faster lah. And because
InsyaAllah,
pasal I pun dah boring duduk kat Singapore ni. I like to travel, so aku dah rimas duduk kat Singapore ni. Betul, very rimas.
Aku rasa bukan kau seorang.
Very rimas.
Ramai orang nak travel ni. Saya dah kenal Nick dah lama waktu dia masih muda lagi. Your first drama Cemas. Okay. Itu yang saya tengah cari nama dia tu, Cemas.
Year 2000.
Year 2000
I was only 21 years old. Cantik lagi aku. Now I am 42. That was 21 years ago.
Cantik lagi apa?
Tak, dah habis dah.
Dah habis
Habis dah.
So your life ni, kehidupan anda dalam bidang artis, lakonan and all that, sekarang saya tak nampak lagi. Apa perkembangan tu?
I think this is because pasal apa tahu bang? As you know, I went on your show in 2015. You did Selamat Pagi Singapura. And you wish me Nick all the best. So the following week I won Best Actor.
Is that drama apa berbisik?
Kasih Berbisik. Dengan Remy Shah. So I won Best Actor. Then after that I was awarded I was asked to do this drama called P. Isaac.
Okay.
So dalam drama P. Isaac tu, lepas P. Isaac tu I realised that apa salah nama aku macam kurang orang panggil. It's like I just won Best Actor, I just did 13 app, macam nama naik kena reject, nama naik kena reject. So I begin to ask why. So I think it's because I had a big misunderstanding, and I think I had a big I don't know, I can't call it a fight pasal kita tak gaduh. It's basically something that is not settled till today.
Okay.
And I biarkan macam gitu je.
Dengan siapa tu?
Dengan this particular actress from Suria.
Okay.
So when it happened, I find that the TV station and the production house took sides.
So diorang ambil
the female side.
The female side.
Because she was much more popular. Okay. So the thing is, I felt that it was very unfair. Without hearing my story. And just imagine this, you give me a timetable, you give me my harga, 1 week sebelum shoot you drop me. Reason you tak sesuai lah, tak kena lah, tak apalah.
1 week before shoot.
1 week before. Whereas you already give me the price, where you give me the timetable, and that show was Bunga Tanjung. So I was I was very very disappointed with that. So I noticed kenapa diorang macam tak panggil aku So I noticed that every single time a director wants me, a production house wants me, mesti tak dapat. So the thing I find that I'm not going to allow these people to tentukan my periuk nasi. We know how the game is, You can appear for 6 months, the next 6 months I have to slow you down. That's the game of the TV station. For them, it's more on you punya appearance on TV. They control it. So I sit down and think, takkan periuk nasi aku ni ditentukan oleh manusia? If production wants me, if the people still wants to see me, what gives the right for the TV station to say no? Or just because they sit in that chair and they have that power?
In the name of overexposure.
In the name of overexposure, in the name of you have to give new people a chance, blah blah, whatever it is lah. So I just find it not fair. So 2016, I declared I retire.
Okay.
I retired and I bashed the TV station up and down. But in 2017, I realised actually I did something wrong. I should have left gracefully, not like that. So being quite sad that happened, because I was quite a serious actor. I gave people can know that this guy maybe he's a diva on set lah. He wants coffee lah. He wants makan. I've shot with you before, for 2 seasons.
Itu saya akui, satu perkara saya akui, bukan akui yang dia diva, tapi akui yang he's a serious actor. Pasal you berlakon untuk kita beberapa projek, Hanyut. And
Cukup Sayang. Season 1, season 2.
Saya nampak you on set and I see you berlakon. So you are serious actor. If you want something, you need to get it. And I mean, because you need to perform lah kan. You need water tak?
Okay, never mind.
Okay, maybe get the hot water. Yeah.
So apa yang what I did was I wrote an apology letter
Oh,
to
okay.
to the TV station and also to the production house. TV station replied to me and said it's okay, Nick. You know, that was the old boss lah.
Itu 2017.
2017. That was the old boss. So the old boss said, okay, Nick, never mind, kita start new. Just forgive and forget. The production house pula reply dia macam tak best. Reply dia macam, I can see the CC to these people lah, CC to these people lah, just to I don't understand why. And I met the big boss during the bazaar and I asked, bila nak unban saya? No lah, kita tak ban you, tapi macam ni kita nak panggil you berlakon. You tattoo dah sampai kat jari, dulu tak ada. So I was like, it's so funny because I've did independent projects for movies, for short films, and I see people, no, not I see people. What they did to me is, orang panggil makeup artist orang, they airbrush my hands, they make up, and actually it can be, pasukan technology is so high tech, you know. But so bila reason macam itu kan, oh you dah ada tattoo gini kedebak dah tak kena apa. It's like there are so many actors out there in the world who have tattoos all the way, but you know, there are characters for them. So the thing is, they are just trying to be subtle. Basically, it's an unofficial ban. Because I must say, when I left tu kan, I really bash individuals. So
Of the TV station.
Of the TV station, because I still believe that kita punya industri ni, we have very complacent leaders. Why I say complacent leaders tu? I sit in this chair, I nak jaga perut nasi I. This chair is very comfortable. I call the shots. I'm not going to fight for the industry. I'm just going to lead. But tapi kadang-kadang bila kita question, what gives you the claim that you can lead well? You cakap, oh dia ni tak bagus. You pernah berlakon ke? You pernah direct ke? Maybe you're good in marketing, maybe in strategies, you know, and doing like how to grow the TV station. Tapi flavor, pasal I'm so sorry to say this, you know, if you watch other TV stations from Malaysia or whatever lah, kita jangan cakap lah industri diorang bigger, memang industri diorang bigger, tapi the content tu, I find the content of dramas or documentaries or talk shows in our local industry ni very very boring. Dia gitu je. Kita nak cakap, nak kena jaga kita tata susila, nak jaga kita punya perasaan masyarakat, cannot do this, cannot do that, cannot do this. So it becomes a very very boring show. Kalau berlakon pun, dia macam gitu je. Seni tu kita tak boleh control tau. Kalau we have to go out of it, we go out of it. So we are controlled and we cannot do certain things. Because I was an actor for 17 years before. Oh, cannot do this cannot do this So but when I acted in Malaysian drama, oh it's different. It's like we are not an Islamic country. We are a multiracial country. Diorang Islamic country, but their content is much more open than us. So what's the problem with this? So I find that benda-benda gini is going nowhere. Macam kita grow daripada SBC, daripada TCS pergi ke Suria, pergi ke whatever they call themselves now. It's like we are growing, tapi we are just growing to be a modern era. Tapi drama-drama mak orang susah, bapa kerja tak ada duit, anak jadi rosak, time SBC dah buat. But we are still doing it now still. So mana-mana content-content people want to see. Oh, ni tak boleh lah, ni nanti kita ajar anak kita jadi jahat lah kalau kita too much content. Kids nowadays are so smart. You know, they can judge.
You follow tak sekarang punya perkembangan
Not
TV
really.
dan sebagainya?
Not really.
Dia tak
I watch more Netflix, I watch more YouTube, I watch more Astro. Because you see, as an actor, kita always dream of nice roles or good roles to play. Roles that we can imagine, that we can create. I don't see any of those kind of role in our local TV station lah.
Yeah. You know, talking about your tattoo kan, I googled your name.
Yeah, mesti ada.
I googled your name, the top 4 search kan, Nick Mikhail satu,
Nick tattoo?
Nick Mikhail tattoo, Nick Mikhail wife,
Gangster.
gangster I tak nampak.
Okay.
So maybe you nak clarify tattoo ni, kenapa orang fascinated?
Okay, because when I started, see bang, I must admit, when I grew up, I was a mommy's boy. So at the age of 21, I lost my mom. So my mom is dia lain macam sikit tau. Okay, kalau dulu, okay, kalau you want to go clubbing, you want to go out, you want to have girlfriend, whatever, your life, you must have your marks must be 75 and above to qualify for A1 lah.
Kriteria.
So dulu walaupun I nakal, or dulu pun macam mana I gonjol kat dalam sekolah, people always said, dia ni gonjol tapi dia boleh belajar. That was the rule. Kalau tak ada 75, I tak boleh keluar pergi tea dance, I tak boleh keluar pergi night dis, tak boleh.
So you A student lah.
Nah, boleh tahan lah, tak lah A sangat. So the thing is, bila she passed away, dia cuma bikin, I always remember her words dua. Kau nak ada tattoo, kau nak bawa motor, tunggu aku mati. That was her words. So when she passed away, my first tattoo, I tattooed her name on my back as a remembrance. And I've always been fascinated. You know, bila kadang-kadang orang cakap, tapi you tahu kan, you ni agama Islam, it's haram. You know, if you want to talk about halal dan haram sampai besok pagi subuh pun takkan habis. You know, I admit at times when I feel that I should have done it because you know, this is not the way of my religion. Tapi kadang-kadang I fail. Macam a few years ago I did with this Ustaz Zaid Zain, baru nak start. Tattoo I sampai sini je. You know? But orang ingat bila I bikin tattoo, bila I bikin program baru nak start tu, I dah berhijrah. I said no. I did that program because I don't know how to pray. So I'm learning how to pray. So when my son ask me how to pray, I can teach my son, no need other people. Tapi that doesn't mean I'm praying. Tapi banyak orang condemn I, dulu baru nak start tattoo sampai sini. Lepas baru nak start tattoo sampai ke sini. So I must admit at times I fail to control myself. I admit at times when I would just sit down and just say, I think it's enough lah Nick. Yeah, it's enough. I think you should go back to God. But
apa tarikan yang you nak ada? Kenapa you mesti ada tattoo sampai banyak?
All my tattoos ada life story ya. Semua ada meaning.
Oh, okay.
Like 2108, this is the day I met my wife. 1978 is the year I was born. Then the fish lah, the coils lah, the good luck charms lah.
Ada sebab lah.
Ada story lah.
Story.
Ada story yang ada orang cakap merepek tapi ada orang cakap memang lah ada story.
Apa feedback atau maklum balas yang you selalu dapat pasal tattoo ni daripada orang ramai?
Truthfully, banyak orang tak berapa I think people respect me because I'm being who I am. Tak ada orang cakap you ni hypocrite. You are always voicing out the things that orang tak nak voice out. You are always showing the real you. You tak hypocrite tau. Okay. Whatever you are, you show.
Itu satu perkara yang saya setuju because selalu you akan keluar dulu kalau ada satu benda yang terjadi dalam industri seni.
Ya. Yeah.
Saya ingat lagi video you kepada Zaidi. Tu hari pun video keluar pasal siapa tu, MK Click you keluarkan dulu. Tak payah, you tak tunggu orang lain. Satu perkara saya lihat, you akan luahkan apa dalam fikiran you tanpa tunggu, tanpa tapis. Adakah itu you di luar social media pun macam tu juga?
Yeah, because I see that macam, first of all, when I see our players, our local actors or our local performers, kalau orang pergi ke seberang, it's not easy because I've talked to them, they're my personal friends. So bila kat sana tu kadang-kadang dorang kena bully, kadang-kadang dorang kena tindas. So bila dorang kena bully ni, dorang tak akan berani bersuara pasal they will affect their rice bowl. But that cannot be. I bukan Robin Hood, I bukan hero. But the thing is, if I see something wrong and tak ada orang bersuara, then I bersuara lah. Because I feel that kalau tak ada orang bersuara, nanti it becomes yang macam, it's not justifiable lah. Macam orang just can tonyo your kepala just like that. And if you are okay with it, you're okay lah. But I'm not okay with it. Don't get me wrong macam first time bila Aaron kena kutuk dengan Zack Zaidi, I bersuara. Then Najib, I bersuara lagi. Then Ali Aziz. It's not that I'm finding fault with Zack Zaidi. The thing is,
you defend.
I'm defending because I see that every single time kalau he speaks, it's always about pelakon luar. But recently, I have to say this, he did something that I agree.
Apa tu?
When he voiced out that because of COVID, pelakon-pelakon Malaysia yang tak dapat job tu harus dibayar. Like 3,000 atau 1,000. However rich the pelakon there, kalau diorang successful ke tak successful ke, diorang ada susah ke, diorang hutang ke tidak, whether what he did is right or wrong, he showed to me that I need to do something from my seniman. So itu satu yang I agree.
Okay. Tapi you bersuara tak? waktu you agree, you disagree, you bersuara. Tapi bila you agree, did you
Because it was meant more for their celebrities lah. So kalau for their industry, I
yalah,
wouldn't
you nak masuk campur pun nanti orang cakap ni tempat bukan tempat ni.
Correct. Actually, the truth is, I was a registered seniman when I was acting over there.
Oh, okay.
Then because of that issue, I came out of seniman. I am now I registered under karyawan pula. So I can shoot in Malaysia if I want. So the thing is, I tak masuk campur lah because it's about their industry kan. Tapi I nampak what he did was actually correct. Pasal the important thing about being a leader is to voice out. Betul atau tak betul, you have to voice out. You know, dia macam, and there isn't one here. I nampak pelakon-pelakon lama kita doing odd jobs, pelakon lama-lama kita yang dorang tak panggil.
Ya, itu saya sedih sangat. Pasal apa, jangan cakap pelakon lama memang betul. Pelawak-pelawak,
Correct.
you know, lama yang dorang dah tak panggil kan. Itu bila kita jumpa kadang-kadang kita panggil dorang. Bila saya dulu waktu kita buat cruise dan sebagainya, kita panggil dorang because dorang ada nilai tu.
Correct.
Ada nilai dan dorang boleh menghiburkan. So itu saya sedih sikit. Saya cuma tak boleh satukan your approach social media pasal you are very controversial kadang-kadang. You akan cakap apa yang you nak luahkan, tapi you run a business. Macam mana you reconcile to your attitude
I must say that Hombre 21 tu, it works pasal of me being controversial. Orang pakai Hombre 21 tu bukan pasal dia the best quality. Orang pakai Hombre 21 pasal aku nak digelar Hombre.
And they
support me. So Hombre 21 to work,
okay.
Hombre 21 to excel is because aku nak support Nick.
Okay.
So I did, when I said, because when I wanted to open a brand, I cannot beat Uniqlo, I cannot beat Zara, I cannot beat Topman. These are all international brand, you know. But what can I beat them? I tak jual baju, I jual concept, I jual culture. So ni konsep Nick okay, gua pun nak jadi macam Nick lah. So that's how the brand grow.
Visual attitude
Yeah.
Dan adakah Hombre 21 ini mendapat satu tarikan selain daripada Malaysia? Adakah orang-orang lain yang ingin invest in this idea?
Invest, I think over the few years kita adalah people who wants to invest, who wants to bring it overseas, people who want to, like right now I share yang tadi tu, Hombre is not entirely mine. I give up 80% of my shares to someone, to the new owner, because he wants to expand it. So the thing is, why I do that, because I want to see Hombre grow, you know. So what I want to do is have a brand, start it, grow it, sell it, then I start back.
Ni 80% banyak tu ni. Kenapa you let go sampai 80%?
Because of the money lah. 80% tu ada duit.
Yalah. Money talks.
And the thing is, I think I am the only local brand, Malay boy local brand who can sell 80% at that price lah.
Wow.
Because it's not
Congrats,
easy. Yeah,
Tahniah,
so the thing is, actually bang, I was very sad when I sold it. But I want to see the brand grow. The brand go wherever it wants to go. Then I go out after my contract finish, I start out a new brand. So ini macam apa tau, bikin something successful, jual, then aku start balik. It's the challenge of making a brand successful is best tau. Bila dia nampak orang banyak pakai, you know, you're challenging brands from Malaysia, from Southeast Asia. It's quite cool lah, seriously.
You dah jual dah banyak lah. Tadi kita berbual sebelum rakaman ni, dah beribu-ribu unit you jual Saya rasa, saya doakan kat Malaysia you akan pergi lebih jauh lagi lah. You know, daripada mana datang your semangat keusahawanan ni? Adakah keluarga you sendiri, dalam keluarga you ada gini tak, atau memang you belajar sendiri?
I feel bila kita jadi pelakon ni kan, kita have to stand by and have to prepare that one day kita tak akan ada job. So I was a full-time actor since the first time I started acting. So bila tak ada job tu, I tried to do this. I jual kereta, I jual this, I jual that. No, it teaches me the trait yang macam we cannot depend so much on acting in Singapore. However, kita love it so much, kita cannot, because the opportunities tak banyak. So that's where I learned that I have to have a backup plan. So bila backup plan tu, jumpa kawan, learn from people, do a bit of reading, successful stories you follow. Hombre 21 was just a brand which I started. It hit at the right time. I pula tengah gaduh dengan Zaidi, I bersuara, everybody supported me, so it boom. So when I retired from TV in 2016, I was working as a debt collector. I was working as a legal money lender for about 2 years.
Oh, okay.
Then I
Macam mana hidup tu? Debt collector.
hidup tu
Debt collector ni garang juga kan. You nak kena use force, you nak kena
I have to admit I left it because tak sampai hati lah. Kita pergi,
apa maksud you tu?
when I remember this case I went, the husband dia owed dalam 30 plus thousand. So we went down there. He wasn't home but the wife was there. So we have to pressure lah. That's a job of a debt collector. Because my time the law wasn't that strict yet tau. Dia baru nak strict. So kita masih boleh keras sikit. Sekarang tak boleh. Sekarang the law is you can never raise your voice. Any debt collector raise their voice at you and be harsh towards you, straight away call the police. It's against the law. Take a video. Sekarang punya debt collector punya law is I come, I paste the letter, I walk away. I cannot knock, shout no more already. It's against the law.
So waktu you boleh time tu.
So the thing is, bila kita tengah buat macam itu, a small girl came out and say, Mami, pukul berapa nak makan? Daripada pagi kita tak makan.
Oh man.
So instead of being angry, instead of collecting money, kita kasih dia duit.
Okay.
No, I've done like so many bad things, It's like I remember this pakcik, dia hutang 60,000 dia tak nak bayar, and he was very arrogant about it. So we find out anak pakcik nak kahwin. Majlis pukul 12, pukul 11 kita 4 ekor datang majlis. Jumpa pakcik. Macam mana perasaan pakcik tu? So all this type of thing I had to stop lah. Pasal at the same time I must admit that it make me very financially quite strong. Tapi it made me not a very good person lah. I became very negative. I became very fierce. I became someone I shouldn't be. So I left the line lah. And I got into trouble lah because of becoming a debt collector and a money lender for 2 years. And I fought the case for 2 years.
Itu yang is that the car punya bukan?
No, car mean I was nothing.
This is not reported yang ni?
No,
okay.
But I fought the case for 2 years in court.
Oh, okay.
I habis about dalam 70,000 I habis. Just to fight this
because all settled.
They lost the case. They didn't win. I won.
Okay.
But the amount of money I fight, I keluar for lawyer was crazy lah.
Apa yang you dituduh tu? Can you talk about the case? Boleh.
It's over already. Harassment and considered mastermind for syndicate for money lending.
Yes, besar tuduhan tu.
So the thing is, when I was handling it, but end of the day when everything got smashed, I was the one who was pointed at. So sorry to say, orang yang naikkan aku is the same person yang jatuhkan aku. Tapi dia dah lari pergi Taiwan lah sekarang. So I was lucky that I had certain things that back me up. And after 2 years, after going to trial, there wasn't enough evidence to proceed. So I won it lah. I just had to pay compound for the harassment lah. Pasal I kena banyak charge. I kena harassment meaning we did some bila time collect hutang tu kita ada roughen up people a bit lah. So that was the harassment lah.
Apa perkara yang paling orang salah faham tentang diri you?
Salah faham I think is people who know me will know that I'm quite funny, I'm easy to talk to. Orang yang tak kenal will call me arrogant. Because I must say that my arrogance come from people say aku ni very confident. But if you don't have that confidence, you cannot run things well. Bila you have that mindset kat dalam kepala otak kan, ni kalau aku buat jadi tak buat jadi tak jadi. You cannot do something well. So confident tu you must have. Tapi kadang-kadang confident tu kadang-kadang macam overconfident juga. And kadang-kadang people mistake about me is people think everything I touch can turn to gold, which is very wrong. I have done business yang make money. Bang, I have also done business that I really lost a lot of money.
Is it business apa tu?
Like car business.
Okay.
Like last year I thought I could sell everything. I franchised 100,000 ringgit of baju from Malaysia and I couldn't sell. I was stuck with 50% of stock for malam raya. So there are things that I also don't do well. So kadang-kadang tu bila people talk to me, okay ni, I see you doing Bitcoin, I see you doing this, or I see you ada brand. Every time I'm a successful story, tapi it's not easy actually. There are many things also that I fail. And I think the biggest thing yang orang rasa yang people don't understand about me is because of the tattoos, because of the loudness, people think that I'm a gangster. So the thing is, I'm not gonna admit lah I ni gangster ke tidak or whatever. But for me, I dah 42. I love my son so much that I don't think I want to go prison. So whoever out there who says that they need to survive with a gang, take this from my advice. You don't need a gang to survive. You know, you don't need a gang to tell that you are so powerful. No, because end of the day when you go prison, you go alone. Gang tak ikut. Gang semua tunggu bila kau keluar. And if you go back to the gang, kau akan jahanam lagi. That's a fact. And that is the thing that I always tell my son, that he should not follow me. Kadang-kadang dia tanya, why you have tattoos? Why you sometimes act like gangster? Why sometimes you fierce? I always tell him this. Even that time dia baru primary 3, so dia dapat CCA. Why should I join? I want you to join Scout. Why? Because Scout the percentage of you becoming naughty is very little. Because Scouts are all very like, diorang nadish, diorang kira kan good boy masuk Scout, pergi camping. Okay lah, so he's a Scout. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be proud of what I've done, but kalau boleh, every parent must have this. Every negativity tu, kalau boleh kita we don't want that for our son to have. If you asking me, I wouldn't be a hypocrite to say if your son have tattoos, bila dia grow up, it's his choice. But if you ask me, if it's up to me, ada multiple choice, I would say no. Okay, should he follow your lifestyle? If it's up to me, I would say no. I rather he go study, he get a degree, he go and see the world. Because my way is, I'm a very strict person. Aku jalan kat road, apa aku berasa aku boleh make money, I will do it. It's not safe. Dia punya masa the future tu tak clear, tak solid lah. So I want better lah my son lah.
Okay. Itu prinsip you lah. Bila saya nampak your show turun cakap saya rasa macam okay. Saya sebenarnya suka bila orang buat content untuk social media. Itu was my journey dulu. Dan bila saya nampak orang lain buat, saya suka. Pasal apa? Kita populate the social media. Kenapa you adakan turun cakap?
Okay, two reasons. The first one, orang always see Nick Mikael as someone who's very negative, very controversial. But if you watch turun cakap tu, I will start the show as being very controversial. I will start the show with being negative, tapi ending tu mesti positif. Menaikkan martabat budak-budak Melayu. To tell people not to judge, to tell people always to give people a chance, to be to be very forgiving. Like I told many people in the show, I'm not a pious person. I cannot remember the last time when I pray. But I always tell them this: kau bikin salah dengan manusia 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kali, dia may forgive you. Masuk 6, 7, 8, semua orang akan pulaukan kau. But if you do something wrong 1,000,000 times, you seek forgiveness from Allah, He will forgive you. All the 1 million time. So kadang-kadang I rasa martabat manusia ni diorang lebih tinggi dari agama. So that's why I tell them never give up. So that's one. And one more thing is I dah penat, truthfully speaking, at 42 kan, macam orang cakap ini ada controversial lah, hantam balik lah. The truth is I'm very tired. How I wish that I can just disappear from all this, retire in an island and not bother about all this anymore. Tapi kadang-kadang when we see something macam, and I see macam that time Alif Aziz, when he did something and everybody bash, I waited for a while. I didn't back him up straight away after his divorce and he came back here tu. Until to the point yang dia jadi viral tu, I just tell people, he's done something wrong. Sampai bila orang nak bash him? And when I bersuara, then the bashing stops. So sometimes I rasa I need to bersuara because I can lessen the damage tu, or sometimes I contribute lah, like macam, but actually the truth, kalau dalam turun cakap tu, sekarang kita dah shoot 9 episode. My favourite episode is actually, if you ask me, I like episode bila I cakap pasal budak-budak kerja pest control.
Oh, okay. Kenapa
budak Melayu suka kerja pest control? I like the topic. Asal budak Melayu Kalau dulu semua nak bikin safety. Oh, pasal gaji dia bagus gini-gini. Oh, sekarang gaji dia tak bagus pasal sekarang banyak foreigners dah ambil. I like to talk about all this stuff matters. Kalau you suruh I berbual pasal artis ni dia ada skandal gini, maybe 5 years ago I suka berbual lah. Tapi sekarang I macam
Malas nak layan.
Macam malas layan. I think it's the age lah. I rasa it's the age.
Itu betul lah. Lepas 40 memang lain benda pula kita nak cakap, nak rasa.
Pasal hentam tu is not directly to me. Kalau hentam tu is directly to me, maybe I'll retaliate. Tapi pasal katakan macam, oh this artist kena, oh dia cakap macam gini, aku nak cakap apa oh it's not my business lah. I dah start to feel it's not my business. Aku rasa aku just
you nak move on to something else kot.
Maybe
Now dalam turun cakap tu nak benda positif di hujung rancangan tu, betul?
Correct.
Orang boleh terima tak you jadi positif?
The thing is actually banyak orang dah cakap ni kita tak suka tengok kau positif lah. Kita suka tengok kau controversial lah. Kita suka kau tengok kau hentam ke kedebak kedebuk.
Itu your brand lah.
Yeah. So people nampak positif kan, not you lah. People have never know that I like hosting. Asal kau bikin turun cakap? You know, as an actor you've never been a host before. But why
you like hosting Memang itu you.
I like hosting tapi kena topik yang pasal sorry to say topik-topik kat TV station tu everything is control. Oh kita nak kena jaga, kita tak boleh cakap macam ni tau. Oh kita tak boleh cakap ni tau. Oh kita nak kena jaga this kita
yalah, dia ada censorship dia kat situ.
So it gets very boring. Pasal I macam I malas nak fikir pasal hosting dulu. I rather act because the challenge is there. So bila dapat peluang ni, actually I had this idea dah lama. Nak bikin tak nak. Okay lah, try one dengan Alif lah. Then I did. Sekarang 6 episod lah.
Okay. I juga nampak episod yang pasal orang yang wedding tu. Yang
itu
orang lari dan sebagainya. So saya nampak satu komen. Dia cakap, kalau kita jadi pembunuh masuk Nick Mikhail punya show, kita tak guilty, something like that lah. Dia cakap macam itu. So apa sebenarnya bila you nak bawa orang yang memang dah ada case macam ni, itu apa tujuan?
Actually orang yang fikir macam itu, actually they are, I don't blame them. Mungkin diorang yang terkena, mungkin diorang punya duit yang kena. I'm not going to say kena tipu, duit diorang yang hilang. I'm not saying you do something wrong, you come on my talk show, people should forgive you. No. If you watch the talk show, I told Idhar, I'm not siding you. What you did is wrong. Salah is salah. We cannot run away from it. But you should get better and you should pay them back slowly. You know, the show is giving someone a chance to explain. The show is about telling. Nobody wants to hear your explanation, so I hear and I tell. And I'm not saying you did something right. So mungkin orang tu salah faham, atau mungkin orang tu tak betul-betul faham, ataupun dia tengok dengan anger. So dia punya mind satu je. Oh, Nick hantam dia, so Nick is siding him. I'm not siding anybody. Whoever comes to show, I'm always the middleman. Turun cakap is somewhere platform when you have something and you tak boleh settle. Pasal dalam istilah gangster, turun cakap means you're not happy, kita turun cakap.
Oh, okay.
So dalam istilah gangster, istilah in the street kind of
tapi betul-betul cakap lah, duduk cakap ke ataupun turun cakap, maksudnya ada berbeza sikit.
Turun cakap lah, you one side, we will talk. If cannot, then we fight.
Oh, gitu.
So kadang macam people tell you, dia tak puas hati, kita turun cakap. Okay, kau turun, you that side, I this side. Okay, kita berbual, cakap tak boleh settle, meja terbalik, kita gaduh. Tapi my show kita tak gaduh. We settle.
Pasal you nak positif.
I want positif, kita jangan gaduh. Pasal kalau nak gaduh, I have to invite the other party. You see, I have seen many podcasts, I have seen many video YouTube channels and Facebook videos yang actually suka viralkan benda-benda yang orang buat salah. Suka portray benda-benda yang orang buat. Dan actually itu bukan untuk tolong tau. Itu untuk get more viewership. Untuk ketawakan orang, and it's not helping them. And it's so sad to see that some of them are my friends, some of them are my ex-friends, and whether they're successful or not, for me it's like, you want to do this, carry on, but I won't be a part of it. Maybe I'm not as big as other channels or other podcasts, but I'm going to stay true to myself. Turun Cakap is a place where we will talk and we will settle things. And I'm going to stay true to that. Kalau I betul nak viewership, I just take the camera, I find my contacts in Malaysia, all those channels, artis ada controversy, I go. My view can get 300,000, 400,000. But end of the day, it becomes, dia memang lah, you can monetize from there.
Gossip channel.
Gossip channel, tapi you tak ada quality in that. Dia tak ada that content tu macam, artis ni ada problem, kau pergi, kau berbual, kau tunjuk. Like everyone is doing it right now. So I don't want to be like that. Memang they earn good money lah, but you know. But seriously, if I would get a budget or an investor to come in, I want to do dramas for YouTube.
Okay.
Because there's 2 or 3 channels in Malaysia that are doing it and they are really earning.
What kind of drama you nak buat?
Drama-drama yang topik yang local industry tak buat.
Okay.
Like macam, if you watch drama overseas kan, the only the biggest difference between a local drama and overseas drama is, first of all, bukan not only content tau, the execution, the acting is different, the way of talking is different, wardrobe is different, technicalities is different, because they are bigger industry. But YouTube channel has proven that wrong. I think there's these 2 channels from Malaysia. These boys only shoot with 1 or 2 cameras, and tak ada professional, and dorang hit like 1 million, 2 million views per drama, and they're doing very well now. So maybe lah, but
possible lah.
Possible lah.
Tadi you cakap you dah 42 tahun and you dah rasa macam benda-benda gini semua you dah tak nak. You rasa macam kalau orang kontroversi ke apa, bukan satu perkara yang you nak ke depan lagi. Apa sebenarnya yang you nak buat dalam hidup you? Now that you dah sampai umur ni, usia ni.
My plan is, I really want to retire at 45. Whether I make it or don't make it, I want to have a business that I run here. Then I want to settle life in Bali.
Okay.
Have a business here, let the business
Tapi
run.
duduk Bali.
Duduk Bali.
Your whole family sana.
Yeah, send my son to Canggu Community School. Community School is actually a international school.
Okay.
It's not community school. Dia orang nama je Canggu Community School, but it's an international school. Stay in Canggu, somewhere in Batu Belik, bangun pagi tengok sawah padi, send the son to school, he come back, you know, go to the beach, really relax. Tapi business kat Singapore kan, once a month come back, collect money. I think bukan give up, bukan jaded tau, but I find that nak fight for the industry, nak fight for the local industry kat sini, fight yang tak boleh menang.
Kita masih ada ke local industry when it comes to
I call it local industry pasal we are locals, you know. Then it's like, for me I had a guest Rizal Noor on my show. Kita conclude actually kita tak ada industry, kita cuma ada scene. This is not industry, this is a scene. So but it's just sad because I was very passionate about the scene. Like I told people how passionate I was is, hari ni bapa I meninggal, besok I shoot. That's how passionate I am about this. People will say, Nick Mikhail ni attitude lah. Oh, dia ni gada-gada, dia ni gangster, oh, dia ni playboy, macam-macam. But no one will say Nick Mikhail is a bad actor. Because I give my best on set. But that is also not enough. In this industry, it's not about being the best. It's about the best being you. The art of mengampu is the biggest trait. The art of mengampu is the biggest trait. Jadi kalau pandai the art of mengampu, actually it's not only on the TV scene. Kat mana-mana pun. Any industry you apply that mengampu scheme kan, you punya journey tu better a bit lah.
Okay. Dalam di hari Ayan ni kan, saya selalu kalau di alam Twitter, saya suka bantu anak-anak muda. Anak-anak muda selalu tanya saya tentang relationship, hubungan, tanya pasal kerja. Diorang pun tanya macam mana saya nak rapatkan hubungan saya dengan adik-beradik, dengan mak bapak dan sebagainya. Apa satu nasihat yang you boleh kasih kepada anak-anak muda yang sedang mendengar sekarang ni and maybe diorang sedang melalui kesukaran hidup?
The most advice yang I always like to give youngsters is actually always value your parents. Many people who know me personally, I pun dah bilang story ni banyak kali lah, but I never told this in your show before. Always value your mom and your dad. Pasal the thing is, mak kita ni irritating tau. ngomel. Bapak kita pun ngomel. And kita always will quarrel. Sama lah dengan adik-beradik. I have a story to tell everybody. I was never someone who always stay at home. I was always busy outside, clubbing, whatever lah, socializing. I was remember one day tu, in the year 2001, my mum got sick. And I still choose to go to Thailand with my girlfriend. And over there I was stuck because it was monsoon, so I couldn't come back from PP Island. So when I come back, she was really very, very sick. So she was sick, then she got mild stroke, then she went into a coma, then deep coma because she got brain tumor after surgery. So after she passed away, I still didn't learn my lesson to value family. I got married. I got very pissed with my dad because he remarried. So I left the house. And my brother is anak istimewa, mentally challenged.
Okay.
So I left them to carry on my own life. I was selfish. Because of that, no one took care of him properly. 2006, he called me. It was midnight. It was my birthday, but I was super drunk in a club. I told him, call me back tomorrow. I'm very drunk. Anyway, thank you. 6 hours later, he passed away.
Oh, okay.
Itu pun aku tak learn my lesson. So after my first marriage, so I got divorced. Then I stayed with my dad. Then I realised that, actually family ni important. Tapi I pun tak rapat dengan my dad sangat pasal he remarried already. And he got his own family. So the story is, how irritating your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your dad, or your family is. Family will always be family. Brother ke, sister ke, gang ke, satu baju ke, tak satu baju ke, end of the day, no one can take that doubt away from you. Mum, you see husband wife cerai, habis tau, pertalian tu tak ada. Bapa dengan anak, silaturahim tu sampai bila-bila pun no one can take away. You may take the child away from the father, but you cannot deny the fact that is still his daughter. Macam mana kau bikin pun, kau kahwin orang lain pun, itu tetap anak dia, bukan anak the new guy. So always remember to value time. How busy you are, spend time with your mother. How busy you are, spend time with your brother, sister. Try to understand them. Because the thing is, bila diorang dah go away, you can never see them. I dah taruh tanah kat hidung to all my family members. I'm the only one left. Tak ada. When I was young, my sister passed away, but I was very, very young at that time. My mom tak ada, my brother tak ada. So I don't have anybody in this world. Yang pertalian darah is only me and my son. So the thing is, always value them. Pasal bila dorang dah tak ada tu, kita tak akan rasa tau. Kehilangan tu kita tak akan rasa bila dia meninggal. Bila semua orang dah balik, bila kita baring kat atas katil, lampu dah gelap, yang mom is dah tak ada, bapak kau dah tak ada, adik abang kau dah tak ada. Nak telefon, mana boleh telefon? Nak tengok, takkan nak korek kubur tu tengok. So always remember, kadang-kadang kita cakap, never ever take things for granted. Kadang-kadang tak apalah, nanti gaduh besok boleh berbual lah. I took for granted on my brother. Besok telefon, nanti telefon balik aku dah mabuk tak boleh berbual. He passed away. You cannot talk to him anymore. So always prioritize your family. Macam mana jambu ke, perempuan kau ke, macam mana handsome ke lelaki tu ke, macam mana happening pun dunia luar ni. Dunia luar ni kesedapan ni kan. Pergi pukul 11 parti, minum, balik ketiga pukul 4 kesedapan tu dah habis tau. But time with family, nilai dengan family tu, you cannot buy, you cannot create. It is there meant for you. So itu my advice to all the young ones, not to do that. And ini I cannot say lah, but I always tell to my young nephews and my young niece, before you even think of joining a gang, think 10 years down the road what you want to be. Because if 10 years down the road you want to be successful, you cannot be in a gang. That is one of the biggest hurdle to be successful, to be in a gang. So itulah advice I will always give the young ones .
Apa yang membuat sekarang you dah melalui semua ini kan, dalam keluarga you sendiri dan sebagainya, apa yang mengubah prinsip you bila sekarang you membesarkan anak lelaki?
Actually when I was 20 plus kan bang, I didn't mind what I was, dengan my tattoos, dengan my lifestyle ke, woman, fast cars. I'm someone who have eaten the most expensive caviar dalam restoran tau. Who party at yacht ships. And I also am someone who remember at one time I duduk dalam tent kat Changi, I ada $2 je dalam kocik. So I've tasted the most poorest of the poorest, I've tasted the richest of the richest. Dah rasa dah. Fast cars, tell me apa kereta I tak nak bawa. Clubbing, tak mau cakap lah, I got a reputation to be a very party goer. But I don't know, since I'm dalam umur after 40 ni kan, I don't care whatever happens to me. You know, macam Adi Putra cakap, aku tak takut mati tapi aku tak nak mati. You know, in that show Kill Gangster. The thing is, I just want the best for my son. Because whatever I told my wife, whatever we are doing now, we are building is actually for our son, not for us. I may die tomorrow. We may die like 5 years down the road, you know. But his journey is still lagi jauh. Dia punya chances of journey tu is much more better than us lah. So let's give him the best. And we have to accept my life, the way I lead it, is not the best. I took a lot of risks, a lot of risicos. I hurt a lot of people. I disappointed a lot of people. So I think he must have a better path. So I create that path for him.
Okay.
No, I create, you know, why don't you join Scout? Or I create who he mix with. You know, I'm not saying this. If you have someone who grows up with lawyers, high chance bila dia grow up dia jadi lawyer. You have someone who grew up with gangsters, high chance grow up dia akan jadi gangster. Because that's pendidikan. So I'm not saying that, because I grew up with a lot of kind of people. So I'm not saying that the way I grew up was wrong. But we want better.
Tapi you nak pecahkan putaran tu lah.
Correct.
You nak break the cycle for your son kan?
Yeah. So that, you know, when he grows up, it's like, okay, I get to know my dad is like that. Use me as an example, but don't go through my road. Because my road is not easy. You have to lose a lot of people. Kadang-kadang orang cakap, sometimes kau ni macam heartless, macam kau ni tak ada perasaan. I've said, try losing the whole family, and you see whether you still have any more tears to give or not.
Itu saya tak dapat bayangkan. I mean, saya tak tahu sama ada you geram ke, you insaf ke, you rasa macam mana. Pasal kita tak melalui apa yang you melalui. So kita tak boleh nak cakap apa pun. You know, tapi I tak sangka yang you dah 42 ni. In my mind, you orang yang muda tu, zaman cemas, menang pesta perdana, and you ada a bright future dalam your bidang keusahawanan. But saya nak ucapkan terima kasih for coming here.
Yep.
And talk to all the Dari Ayah punya followers kat social media.
Correct.
You know, kalau ada satu benda yang you nak bilang all penonton, apa dia? Tentang diri you lah.
I feel that not only on me, saya rasa whenever kita dengar about someone, I'm asking people, first of all, take a deep breath, jangan judge. Pasal kadang-kadang kita tak tahu apa orang tu akan lalui. What's going inside their mind. Dia akan terjun ke lepas ni, atau he will have a better life ke. So don't judge. Like I said tadi, kita minta ampun dengan Allah 1 juta kali dia maafkan kita. Dengan manusia lebih daripada 3 kali dia dah panggil kita penipu, pembohong, tak nak layan kita. So kadang kita have to question, adakah martabat kita sebagai manusia higher than Allah? It's very cliche for me to say, to talk a bit of Islamic down here. Cuma I feel that we think if God can forgive, and kalau kita masih mengaku that we are that religion, forgive lah, and give someone a chance to be better. So itu that what I wanna tell everybody, don't be so judging.
Okey, satu nasihat yang di penghujung rancangan yang baik sangat ni, saya akan insya-Allah Nick jemput saya masuk nak turun cakap. So subscribe to his YouTube channel Turun Cakap, and all the social media nanti saya masukkan dalam description ni. Dan saya tak sabar nak masuk your Padang.
Nanti during my show, like I said, you are going to come on my show. Nanti kita set the date.
Okay.
So we're going to have topik-topik yang my topic is I want to find out more about you. Not what the people know. Oh, Sujimi dia dulu pengacara. I want to know more you as a person, and Nanti kita cakap lah.
Nanti,
Question aku ni lebih bum.
Itu aku seram tu. Okay bro, thank you so much. Terima kasih banyak.
Thank you for inviting.
InsyaAllah. Okay, itu saja daripada Dari Ayah. Jangan lupa subscribe to my Twitter channel, twitter.com/Sujimi Muhammad. Saya juga berada di YouTube, Instagram dan juga Facebook. Jadi insyaAllah kita jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you.